It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160, and our segment with Marshall Chriswell is intended to be for informational purposes only. This information does not constitute legal advice. The law is constantly changing. The information may not be complete or correct depending on the date and your particular legal problem. Each legal problem depends on its individual facts, and different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations. Because of these differences, you should not act or rely on any information in this segment without seeking the advice of a competent attorney licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction for your particular problem. Marshall Chriswell is certainly one of those, and he's on the line with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Todd. How are you?
Wonderful. It's good to have you with us here today.
Nice to be here.
Beautiful, beautiful day outside. Hey, I've heard this new legal term, and it's not new to you. It's just new to me. So you tell me about this, because we've been talking a little bit about child custody in some of our recent programs. Guardian Ad Litem. What is that?
Todd, a Guardian Ad Litem is someone who is appointed in a child custody case, and under Pennsylvania law, this person has to be either an attorney or a mental health professional. And it's someone who is appointed by the court to represent the child's best interests. So this is generally in custody cases where it's a high conflict case, where one or both parties are unable to get along, unable to make even the most basic of decisions for the child sometimes, because there's so much conflict between the parties. Court will appoint a guardian ad litem. Also in cases where there's been allegations of abuse or neglect, it's common to have a guardian ad litem appointed by the court. And so this is a neutral third party that comes in and has broad authority to conduct interviews with the parties, meet with the child, and all related persons, including teachers and doctors and mental health professionals and anybody else involved in the case, and kind of gather all that information and make a written report to the court for a recommendation of what's in the child's best interest.
How do you come to the determination, or how does a judge come to the determination that this is what's needed in a particular case?
So I think each judge is a little different. Courts, judges value the opinions of third parties, of neutral third parties in these family law cases, especially child custody cases, because it can be difficult for a judge to ascertain sometimes the credibility of witnesses. Sometimes there are conflicting reports from doctors or other professional or expert witnesses. So to have someone that is appointed by the court and is a neutral third party to do this investigation is very valuable to the court. But on the other hand, it's an expenditure sometimes of court resources, because sometimes the court will, the county will be responsible for paying this person, or it's an additional burden or financial burden on the litigants to pay this person, because generally it's an attorney that's appointed and they're charging an hourly rate. So those are the kind of the things, and some judges, those are the things they consider, and some judges will only appoint a guardian ad litem in the most serious of cases, and then I've had judges that seem to use guardian ad litems a little more loosely. So it just depends. But really, if you look at the Pennsylvania case law on it, judges have broad discretion. It's totally within their discretion whether or not to appoint a guardian ad litem when one is requested, and it can be requested by either parent, or a guardian ad litem, as I said, can be appointed by the court on the court's own motion. So the judge has broad discretion to do that, so, like I said, varies from judge to judge.
We hear the term guardian, we automatically think children, but for those severely challenged adults, does a guardian ad litem apply there?
Yeah, there is a provision in Pennsylvania law that guardian ad litem can be appointed by the court. Now, the term ad litem means for the suit. So this is a guardian just for the purpose of the case. And when we say guardian, the person is not actually taking physical custody of anybody, isn't actually a guardian in that sense, but just appointed by the court to represent the best interests of the person. And there are provisions in Pennsylvania law that if you have an incapacitated person that may not necessarily be a minor, someone who has intellectual deficits or some other disability that inhibits them from representing their own best interests in a case, court can appoint a guardian ad litem there as well. That's a little more rare.
Is it the case that when somebody is in this situation and they are older, as you just described, and just for representation for determining, okay, mom and dad are elderly and they can't care for the child anymore, but there's not an agreement on how to best care for the child, so the court will say, okay, we're going to take over. We're going to appoint a guardian ad litem in order for this child to be put in the best situation for after mom and dad can no longer care for the child. In other words, it's not a conflict so much between mom and dad as they really don't know what to do.
Yeah, I suppose that could be a situation where you'd see a guardian ad litem appointed. In that situation, though, it would be very limited, as you said, to making a report and a recommendation to the court as to where this child should go. And more often in that situation where parents become incapacitated, there usually are other family members that step up and file a traditional guardianship petition to take physical and legal custody of a child or a disabled adult, or if, in the some situations where parents are unable to care for their children, you have an agency get involved, such as the Children Youth Services Agency, and something called a dependency petition is filed to initiate a court proceeding to determine what's going to happen with this child.
So from your standpoint as an attorney, whether you're representing one of the two parties involved in this situation or you are the one who might be appointed by a judge as a guardian ad litem, how does it work for you? What do you do when you're, for instance, representing one of the two parties?
Sure. And I've been in both of those roles. I'm appointed commonly as a guardian ad litem, in addition to serving as an attorney for parents and parties in these cases. So it's a totally different role, right? When I'm representing a parent, I am advocating for that parent's petition, their position. Of course, with an eye toward what is in the best interests of the child, but I am bound by my ethical obligations to zealously represent my client's best interest, my client's position, above all else. Whenever you're appointed as a guardian ad litem, it's a totally different role. You come in and, like I said, you have broad powers to contact all of the people that are involved in the child's life, teachers and principals and all of their other family members and close connections and child care providers, and if there are mental health professionals, psychologists, counselors, therapists, you get involved in all that, and you're making a recommendation to the court, which, interestingly enough, sometimes the recommendation that you're making is not one that is advocated by anybody. Sometimes it's not what the parent, what mom wants. It's not what dad wants, and it's not what maybe what the child wants if they're old enough to express an opinion. But sometimes you have to advocate for what's in the best interest of the child, even if nobody else, none of the parties in the case can really see that or really agree with you. So it's a totally different role.
Yeah, and I would guess it's a very emotional role as well. In Indiana County, I'm assuming that it's similar, if not exactly the same as it is in other counties. Is there a roster of attorneys who make themselves available for appointment to this type of a role, or does someone have to be specifically asked, hey, would you do this?
There are a handful of attorneys in Indiana County here that are appointed on a relatively regular basis, but the court will consider appointing any attorney that has generally a family law kind of background, some experience in that area, and has been involved in cases where guardian ad litems have been appointed before, and the court believes would do a good job in serving that role.
I would guess that we're talking guardian ad litem here, that there are other ad litem positions in other types of cases too, yes?
There are the only other real court-appointed roles, and they don't use the term ad litem, but in lots of cases there are court appointments for one particular case in order to facilitate a resolution or to hear a dispute. So you can be appointed as of course, there are attorneys that are appointed to represent one party or another for a particular case due to indigency or something like that. But you also have attorneys that are appointed, say, in a real estate matter, a partition case where people can't decide how people want to divide their real estate, or one party wants to sell jointly owned real estate, and a court will appoint an attorney to serve as essentially a hearing officer to try to bring that case to a resolution, or to make a report to the court and allow the judge to make a decision, similar to the guardian ad litem role. But here we're talking about a piece of property, so it's a little different.
It's a new term for me. I'm glad you educated me on it. I appreciate that so much. Now, if people want to learn more about that, or if they want to engage your services for one form or another, what do they need to do?
You can always call my office at 724-465-5826. Stop and see me in the R&P Cole building, which is on Church Street, 655 Church Street behind the post office, or go online to www.westernpalawyer.com.
Very good. Marshall Chriswell, thanks so much.
Hey, Todd, thanks a lot. Take care.
You too.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
You too.